I'm gazing into my crystal ball, and I can see that today's video is going to be something scary. Hi, it's Tuesday, so you know what that means if you're a subscriber. It's time for another Prompt My Story, where I offer writing tips to help you become better writers and give you a writing prompt to turn into stories. This video is sponsored by Orca Book, the publisher of my scary new book, Haunted Hospital. In the spirit of that, I thought today's writing tips and writing prompt will have to do with scary stories. All right. Now, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to write a scary story. Tip number 1. If you want to scare a reader, the very first person you have to scare is yourself. So think of all the things that you find scary. Could be haunted houses, could be dogs. In my case, I was actually scared of a doctor. And it goes back to when I was in elementary school and I had a buildup of wax in one of my ears. My parents took me to the doctor's office. The doctor examined my ear and he said, "Oh, I know how to take care of this." He took out a metal pan, filled it up with warm water, and then pulled out the biggest syringe, the hugest needle I had ever seen in my entire life. He placed that syringe in the pan of warm water. He looked at me and smiled and said, "I'll be back." I was sitting in that doctor's office forever staring at that giant needle in that pan of warm water, and my imagination went wild, and I thought that the doctor was going to stab me in the ear with that giant needle and suck out my brains. I think he only waited for about 3 or 4 minutes before he came back in, but it felt like an eternity. And by the time he came in and the door opened, I burst into tears and said, "Please, please, please, don't suck my brains out." He laughed and he said, "Don't worry, this isn't going to hurt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this giant needle with the warm water in the pan, and then like a water pistol, I'm going to flush it in your ear and loosen the earwax." Now that to this day has always stuck in my brain, and I've always been scared of doctors. So tip number 1, if you want to scare a reader, first person you want to scare is yourself. Now the second tip also is connected to that doctor's visit. It's about tapping into the imagination of the reader. Now, if the doctor had explained to me exactly what he was doing before he left the office, I wouldn't be scared at all. But he said, "I'll be right back," and just left my imagination go wild as I was staring at that giant needle, and my imagination took me to places that caused me to burst into tears. So when you're writing your scary stories, hint at things that could be creepy or dangerous, and then let the reader's imagination fill in the blanks. Don't give us too much information off the start. Because if we know too much at the beginning, then we're never going to be scared because we know what's happening. We're always more afraid of the unknown. My third tip for writing scary stories also connected to that doctor's visit, and that is all about taking your time. If you move too quickly into the scary part of the story, well, then obviously we won't have a chance to settle into what's going on. So take your time setting up the scene, describing what's there. I talked about the description of the metal pan. I talked about what went through my mind as I was waiting for the doctor to come back. I talked about how long it took for him to come back. So when you take your time in building up to the scary moment, in this case, me thinking the doctor's going to stab me in the ear, that's where all the tension comes in. If you move too quickly to the point of the doctor coming in, then there's no tension at all. And part of the fun of reading or watching a scary story is that tension where the reader or the audience knows something bad is going to happen. They just don't know when it's going to happen. So tip number 3, take your time and stretch out that moment of tension. All right. Hopefully those 3 tips will help you come up with some pretty scary stories yourselves. And let's see if you can put them into action as I give you this week's story prompt. Here we go. Check this one out. Now remember, that picture prompt is supposed to spark your imagination. You don't have to describe exactly what you saw there. You can just use some element of that picture to kickstart your imagination. You don't have to start there. You could end up there. You could start there and take yourself to someplace else. Anything is possible as long as you know that that picture prompt is just the spark for your idea. Okay, so I said this video was sponsored by Orca Book, the publisher of my latest scary novel, Haunted Hospital. As a little treat, I'm going to give you a sneak peek at my book with a trailer. If you like that trailer and you want to pick up the book, you can order it online through Orca Book. I'll give you their website address right here. And you can also find it in fine bookstores right across Canada and even in the US through Amazon. All right, check out my trailer and we'll see you in the next video. I heard there are ghosts in there.
Let's check it out. It'll be fun.
I heard there are ghosts in there.
Let's check it out. It'll be fun.